So normally what I would do is probably go into Photoshop and take all these maps in and then use the layer properties, you know, the multiply, the overlays, the everything else, and produce one map. Well, this is what's cool about Blender. You can actually do that within the engine. So you don't have to go over to Photoshop to produce that one map. You can do it right here. First off, let's look at normal and find out what's wrong with it. You can see that it's inverted. So we'll look in here, and if I want a different kind, let's say a negative of that, I click on negative, I click on normal, and you can see now it is correct. That's a really nice map. Look at that. Amazing detail. I'm also going to add a sun in here. So that's spacebar, lamp, sun. A sun will show me all kinds of problems that I might have. If I can make it look good in sunlight, I can make it look good anywhere. Okay, so I got a lot of work to do. Okay, next map. Let's go back in here. Highlight this. Texture. So the color map. Now anything that's below this will affect the color. The color alone is not going to do it for me. You can see that the color is way just really shiny, blown out. It's kind of boring. The occlusion map, however, if I take this occlusion, turn it on, you can see all the cracks and crevices. Well, wouldn't it be nice if I take the occlusion map and go in here and change it to a multiply? Now you have all the cracks and crevices highlighted within the actual texture. Okay, and if you want a variance of that, this variance right here will show a different, you can lower this down and it'll make it less apparent. That one and this one. Okay. Sometimes if you don't see a result also, it helps to go like this and click it back on. And you can see the changes that occurred there. So that's your occlusion. Now the weird one is just kind of like the opposite. So if I take this one and map it to something like maybe overlay and turn it down, I get some nice variations within my texture and some detail. Next, let's look at displacement and what I can do with it. Again, there's no real-time displacement within the engine. But if I map this to the reflections, specularity, hard, and not the color, I have a lot more control over this spectral. And another thing is, it brightens up the map. If you want the bloom effect that you get in Halo, just turn that on. The emit will actually just give you the same results. Now, how do I get the shine out of here? The shine is handled within the actual material. So now I can turn this down if I wanted to. And you can see, just by going into the texture, let me turn this off, then back on. Okay? So if you didn't want any specularity whatsoever, you can leave it off. Rocks aren't generally like shiny unless they're wet, but I do like a little bit of actual shine, just a little bit on them. So I'll tone this down just a little bit, very tiny values. Now another thing is, by default, Blender has a really bad bias is turned on. So I'm going to turn it on cubic. You're going to see better results for cubic. Alright, so there we go. That's how you get really strong values into your maps. That way when you hit P on the keyboard, this is game engine level. And you have total control over everything on the map too, just by going in here. Oops, my mit's still on. There we go. Just by going in here and tweaking out those values per texture, like my ambient occlusion. You know, if I wanted a stronger value in there, I would go in here and just turn this up a little bit, and you can see those darker values pop. And again, same with my other one. If I go in here and max out my weird, which is kind of a cavity shader, but not really a cavity shader, but I don't know. You can go in here and change some of the color values, and you can make that really contrasty look, because that contrasty look really helps in some engines when there's not a lot of detail. Alright, so next what I want to do is show you how to produce one giant map based on these 5 maps, and show you how to bake this out.